Howdy YouTube. Today we're taking a look at the Jakks UFC Series 1. One of the coaches from the Ultimate Fighter Season 22, the California Kid, Urijah Faber. Certainly one of my favourite UFC fighters of all time, an absolute gun. Definitely really entertaining at the moment on the Ultimate Fighter. The main reason I'm doing this review now is basically just to recap Episode 1 of Season 22. I'm not going to include any spoilers or anything like that. Just going to talk a little bit about Urijah Faber and Connor McGregor. Both exceptionally great value. Really enjoying the show at the moment. I think it's going to be a great season. One of the things I was a little bit worried about going into it is that Connor McGregor is just a grade A trash talker. He's got a lot of charisma. He brings a lot of value and publicity to the UFC, which is fantastic because I'm a big MMA fan and the sport needs people like that to grow. One thing I was worried about, though, is that going into the Ultimate Fighter, seeing him every week consistently would really diminish his value. He wouldn't be as special because you just get oversaturated. You see him so much. However, in the Ultimate Fighter, they do a really good job of balancing it. Throughout the first episode, at least, he's not, constantly talking smack and constantly trash talking. It's a really good dynamic he has with Urijah Faber. The main gags that they've got is Conor McGregor makes fun of Chad Mendes a fair bit, and also Urijah Faber's chin. And in response, Urijah Faber basically makes fun of Conor McGregor's melon-shaped head. So honestly, they had a great chemistry together. They worked well. I think they set it up to be a great season. Going into it, Team America seemed very cocky that they would have an advantage over the Europeans. The Europeans, on the other hand, I think overall had the better fights. I think they just kicked ass. They did really well, and all of them showed that they're actually really strong potential UFC and Ultimate Fighter candidates and winners. So, really great season. I encourage you to check it out. Hopefully it's going to be great. Now let's get on to the Urijah Faber figure. He comes in the later style half octagon packaging, which I much preferred to the original bulky UFC packaging that we got from Jakks. Great looking figure in packaging. I'm excited to get him opened up and out. One thing I really like is at the background you can see a nice shot of Urijah Faber. I believe it's actually from UFC 139 there. Nice shot on the bottom there as well. And as you can see, it's a Kmart exclusive. Sadly, I don't think we ever got these in Australia. We did get some of the initial early UFC figures, but never the later ones. So I picked this guy up off eBay for actually a fairly cheap price. I think it was around $20 or $30. So let's get this guy opened up out of packaging and hopefully give you guys a cool review. On the back, we've got a nice shot of Urijah Faber with, honestly, what looks like Nate Diaz, the Nate Diaz figure, but I think it's supposed to be Brian Bowles. Got him in a really tight guillotine choke there. Awesome. Obviously a great wrestler. Pretty much everyone out of Team Alpha Male are solid fighters. There are very few that aren't good. I mean, Chad Mendes, I think, had he have had more fight prep time, would have monstered Conor McGregor. He was certainly kicking his ass in that fight up until McGregor got up and started asserting some dominance. Obviously, Urijah Faber, he's had multiple shots at UFC titles. Shame he's never actually won one. I think he's one person who certainly deserves it, along with Frankie Edgar, although Frankie at least has had a championship before. But really cool. Other figures in the set, of course, Clay Guida, GSP, that's a really cool figure. John Jones, that's another awesome one. The Rashad Evans I haven't seen. Apparently it's not a bad figure from what I've seen. And then obviously Urijah Faber as well. So let's get this guy opened up out of packaging and hopefully give you guys a cool review. Now, I've got here, just for comparison, some of the other Jakks UFC figures, just so you can see the difference. Obviously, you've got heavyweight Cain Velasquez there, the absolute legendary Rampage Jakks, and you can see that one thing that's really good is Jakks differentiated the bodies on these guys. Each one is a little bit different, and as you'll see when I review Nate Diaz and also Frankie Edgar, progressively, you'll see that even those guys that are in the same divisions have slightly different body types. I mean, in the heavyweights, you had Andrei Arlovski and Bussroot, and a few ones that had more of a light heavyweight body style. You had, lightweights and welterweights that all had different, body designs, which was really good because one of the things that Jakks really stuffed up with the WWE figures is they tended to repeat the designs and the figure parts over and over again. So at least with the UFC, it wasn't as prominent. So hopefully you guys can see the difference there between the three figures. Now hopefully you guys can see, I think they absolutely nailed the face sculpt of Urijah Faber. 100% looks like him. I love the detail that they've gone to in doing the hair, the trademark. I don't know if it's braided hair or what the correct term is, but really nice. They came out really well. Got the defined chin as well. Moving down throughout the figure. One thing that is a little interesting is the body design. It's very stiff around the arms here, and just the way it sits looks a little different. Looks a little weird, if I'm honest. Being a lighter figure, I thought it was going to feel a little cheaper and flimsier. It actually feels just as sturdy as the other ones. This joint feels a lot less loose than some of the other figures as well, which is nice to see. In terms of articulation, he's got a ball-jointed head. He's got the unique UFC arm swivel there. Ball-jointed shoulders, swivel in the bicep, bend at the elbow, swivel in the wrist, swivel waist, obviously the ab crunch. He's got ball-jointed legs, ball-jointed thighs, swivel legs, double bend at the knee, and then ball joint in the feet. So just a ton of articulation, which is really good, especially with the UFC figures. You want a lot of movement to set them up. So very happy with this guy. I think he looks fantastic. Obviously, he's got the correct fight attire as well, something that some of the UFC figures get terribly wrong, but on this they did a really good job. It's a real shame, actually, that in his most recent fight with Frankie Edgar, it didn't go his way. Both are two great fighters who I love, and it was a shame to see them both go against each other because one was obviously going to come out worse off, and unfortunately that was Urijah. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comments what you think of this figure and also what you think of the Ultimate Fighter Season 22 so far.